So I just got done watching the first 3 episodes of How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. Very adorable anime. I very highly recommend it. Opening is amazing and it has a very good message. Granted, that message is a little distorted, but I'll get into that a little bit later. We very much have an amazing cast here. Very good colors, very good artwork. I can highly recommend this. I plan on reading the manga, so believe me, if you're going to tell me to read the manga, it's on my list. Again, have a really big list. But let's get started. So we have our main character named Hibiki. She is this high school girl who realizes that she's gaining, a little bit of weight. But, this show does a really weird way in that, she's not, and she's not fat. She's not, huge. She's not, a giant puffball. She just, she got a little bit of a belly, a little bit of love handles, which, who doesn't love a little bit of love handles? Let's be honest here. But she, I guess for some reason, really finds that she is a giant whale. The way the show portrays her is that she's becoming like a hippopotamus, that she's huge. And she's really petite, and obviously she doesn't have any problem moving around. She's not always out of breath. She's not in any way looking unhealthy, but the show very much portrays her as being unhealthy. Her friend is very much just oh, you're really you're really fat there, and it's just oh man, I don't know, it bothers me a little bit because it's she's not overweight, she's not crazy, she's very much a petite girl who has maybe just a little bit of extra weight, but who cares? She's doing perfectly fine. But it's more so, I guess it's supposed to be the message that if you eat horribly, because she eats really, really horribly. She's constantly snacking on junk food. Her bento box is 3 tiers high. It's all a bunch of fried food and such. With how much she's eating, she would suffer from a heart attack, but she doesn't because, again, it's an anime. But, I feel like the message isn't necessarily that great here because she's a petite girl and she weighs maybe no more than 120-ish. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, forgive me, but she doesn't necessarily weigh that much. And I feel like if you're sending that message to people that if you're this tall and you weigh this much, you're considered fat and ugly and unattractive, when in reality you just be a normal person because you have a normal body weight and a normal height. But either way, let's get back on track here. So we have Hibiki. Her friend points her out that you're gaining a little bit of weight, and she very much, of course, being a sensitive person to it, she's I'm not, and she ends up weighing herself and finds out, oh yes, I am. So she starts going to the gym, and she goes to this new gym opening up called the Silverman Gym, and she meets a friend there, or not necessarily a friend, but a fellow classmate who ends up becoming one of her friends, the student council president, Miss Akemi. And Akemi is she's one of those comedic relief characters, super adorable. I will say, this is very much a cute girls show, where it's just a bunch of cute girls doing things. There's a lot of these shows, and Akemi, her thing is that she has a muscle fetish, so she joins the Silverman Gym because, again, interesting visuals. There's all these giant muscle-bound bodybuilder dudes. They're all just jacked and huge, and just oh my god. And it's just it's amazing, how muscular some of these guys get. Because then we have the trainer who teaches both Hibiki and Akemi. We have Mr. Machio, and I love that his name is Machio. He has the appearance of just a generic guy, a generic cute guy. But as soon as his tracksuit comes off, he's someone photoshopped his body onto how gigantic and jacked he is. He's huge, and so he's just this huge dude. But he also has a super soft voice. He has a super okay kids, let's do this, a baby face. And he, the crux of the show is very much some little comedy bits with Hibiki and Akemi and her friends. And then you go into the gym, and in the gym you have Mr. Machio explaining this week's exercise to you. And at the end of the show, they have this little segment where they have you do the exercise that was in the show along with the characters. There was planking, there was lifting weights, there was doing squats, there was these interesting squats I've never seen before. When Hibiki goes to her friend owns a boxing gym, and she did these interesting type of squats. I forget what they're called. Forgive me, dragon something. If you know, please let me know, and such. And then we have an interesting cast of characters here. We don't have all of our characters yet from the OP, but we have Hibiki, we have Akemi, we have Hibiki's friend, who I think is named Ayaka, I could be wrong, and we have the teacher, the sensei of the class, who is very much one of my favorite characters. I like her running gag. Her running gag is that she is, she's single, she feels like she's gaining a little bit of weight, and she's a huge cosplayer. But she doesn't want anyone to know about her cosplay. So she tries hiding the fact that she cosplays. And when she goes to the gym, they notice that she has a very interesting tan line. And they're like, why do you have that, why do you have that tan line? And she's like, I was wearing a swimsuit. And they start thinking it's a very ecchi thing. They start thinking she's doing lewd things. And they're like, oh, okay, we understand, Sensei. And she's like, no, it's not that. But she can't explain that it's cosplay either, because I guess it's even more embarrassing for her. And at the end of the third episode, I'm skipping around a bit, but forgive me. In the third episode, we have a very awesome scene where they are at like a forgive me, comic key, the place where you go to buy like dojins and such. I'm blanking on the name, forgive me, I might look this up later, but they have one of those festivals, and there's people around in cosplay. She's doing cosplay that it looks like it's from Azur Lane. That bunny girl, I forget what her name is, but you've seen it if you've played Azur Lane or you've seen any of these gacha games. And she, she's the center of attention, and then suddenly Hibiki and Akemi show up, and she thinks like, oh no, they're here for me, they know that I'm here. And then it is shown that they're actually here for Machio, and Machio is doing a Kenshiro, right? I think Fist of the North Star, and he's doing a Fist of the North Star, but in this version he's called Muscle Man, because they obviously can't use the same name for copyright reasons. And Machio ends up becoming the center of attention. He does the catchphrase, he does the barbell lifts and such, he does the lift, and the sensei feels defeated. She's like walking away all sad at the end of the day, and she has a suitcase where obviously her cosplay is, but she doesn't want people to see it, so she puts it in her suitcase. And Hibiki and Akemi end up seeing her, and they see her, and they're like, oh, what's in the bag? And she's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then Hibiki's like, oh, I got you, sensei, you're buying dojins. And it's just like and it's just like, she's like, sure, whatever. Like, I don't even want to correct you kids. This show very much is, I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's adorable. It's, got a bunch of cute girls doing cute things. It has very good characters, very good aesthetic. The opening is amazing. This is one of those shows where I do not skip the opening. I love the opening. It's so good. And it definitely helps you get a little bit motivated. There's very well a message here that's saying, like, do some light exercising. You don't have to do a crazy bodybuilder routine. Like, that's how Hibiki initially thinks she's going to end up. She thinks like, oh no, I'm going to end up as this giant muscle-bound gorilla kind of thing. But Akemi assures her, and so is Machio, that like, if you just do these simple workouts, you can lose body weight and you can have a healthier body. Something the show has the show did do this. The show very much helps you. It teaches you some stuff about stretching, about dieting, about how to tell how certain people exercise. There's a scene in the second episode, I believe, where Akemi is telling Hibiki, what specific, they're looking at these different girls at the pool. And she's like, specifically, these girls, she is a cyclist, she is a bodybuilder, she is, blank, because you can tell by the different muscle groups. The show, I don't know how much of this information is necessarily true, because I'm not very much a workout enthusiast myself. I admit, Rambling Brother is not necessarily in the best shape of his life right now, but he will get there. And the show, it very much has a lot of information about the different type of muscle groups, what the muscles do, how you should proper technique and form, because like, you may think you know how to work out, you just pick up some weights and you go like this, but it turns out there's specific bends or specific areas that you want to feel tighten up and burn. You just, there's specific ways to do these forms without throwing out your back or causing yourself to be extremely sore. There's different ways of stretching, because I didn't know this. Apparently stretching the normal way that you're taught to stretch, the way that I was taught in PE, is actually not a good way of stretching. It'll decrease your ability to exercise. It'll restrict the way you move. It'll end up making muscles hurt. It'll end up really detrimenting you. So there is a proper way of stretching, and I find the show to be really educational, and it also has a story. It also has good characters. It also has great looking visuals. It also has some really good comedy bits of Hibiki. Hibiki is adorable. Honestly, she's adorable. And there's these comedy bits where like some of the characters they have this zoom in of their face drastically changes. There's a scene where Hibiki's making fun of her sensei in front of Machio, because most of the girls, at least Hibiki and the sensei, they end up joining because they like seeing Machio, because he's a babyface cute boy. And there's a scene where Hibiki's like teasing her, and then she like turns to her and her face grows all like realistic, I guess you could say, kind of like scary looking, and she's like, "Do you want to die, Hibiki?" And she's like, It's like there's some good comedy bits here. I definitely find myself laughing to the show. I don't find myself zoning out as much, maybe during some of the exercise bits. I understand that the manga is supposed to be a lot more, it's supposed to be a lot more enticing when it comes to the and that's to put it lightly, but more enticing when it comes to the actual workout bits. This does an okay job. It does its job of showing off the exercise while also having a cute girl doing it. But to my understanding, the manga art is better. So if you do like the cute girls and you want to see them be cute while working out, then definitely pick up the manga, start reading that. This is on my list. Like I said, big list. I will get around to it eventually, but I'm definitely gonna stick with the show. Gonna watch it week to week. As far as I can tell, it might be 12 episodes. It might be more. If it's more, then hey, I'm gonna keep watching it. But yeah, that's all I got to say about how heavy are the dumbbells you lift. Let me know if you're watching the show. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Check the links in the description and subscribe for future rambles.